Now that's something good. You totally should tune in to this episode where we explore the extraordinary in the everyday ordinary. Now that's something good.
Welcome to this episode of Now That's Something Good, the podcast where we explore the extraordinary in the everyday ordinary. Now here's your host, Sarah Good.
Hey friends, welcome back to the show. Happy Wednesday, or whatever day it is when you might be listening. I'm so excited today for you to hear this conversation with my friend Maria Granados. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, her husband Matt was on our show. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and check it out because it was an incredible one as well. But today, Maria and I talk about all kinds of things. I think you're going to be encouraged no matter where you're at in your walk or in your life. Maria brings a lot of fire and a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. So without any further ado, here we go. Here's my conversation with Maria Granados. Hey friends, welcome back. I'm so glad I am here today with my friend Maria.
Yay! I'm excited to be here.
I'm really glad that you're here. Maria, you'll hear us say this, but Maria is the husband to Matt, who was on a few weeks ago, and he just shared a lot of great stuff with us, Maria. Did you listen?
I did listen. Some of my friends listened, and they're like, oh my gosh. Did you hear this before I had listened? And I'm like, I guess I have to listen now.
Yeah, I know. I should listen.
I listened for you. I've heard him talk a million times, but I guess, I have to hear this one, I guess.
That's awesome.
It's cute.
Well,
really good.
I'm really glad that you are on with us today. You've got such an incredible story and so many, Maria, I have to say, I'm super inspired by you and I mean that, encouraged by just your heart and everything. And so I'm excited for everybody listening to get to hear all of the Maria things today. So
it'll be fun.
I'm excited. So let's just jump right in.
Okay.
So tell us just again, even though they heard Matt, tell us about your family,
Sure.
a little bit who you are, all the things.
All the things. So my name is Maria Granados. I am the wife to Matt, who you guys may have heard on a couple episodes ago. We have two kiddos. We have Natalie, who's 3.5, and Zach, who is almost 2.
Okay.
So I am a St. Louis native, but I moved away for about a decade, and we recently came back last year because our daughter had been, we've been seeking a diagnosis for her. So she has, I don't know if Matt went into it completely or not, but she has a very rare form of muscular dystrophy. She's one of 17 people in the world. And so we did not know this diagnosis quite yet, but we needed to be near family.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure I'll share more of this as we get into it, but it was a divine intervention that we left at the time we did because we had 6 ICU visits since we've been here.
Wow.
Never had one before that.
Okay.
So we needed family around us and it's been great, but we are entrepreneurial couple, I guess by design, I don't know. Matt has never actually worked for anybody else in his entire life. He DJ'd. I know you guys heard that. He DJ'd when he was younger, all the way till doing his own stuff. So it's kind of crazy. I caught the entrepreneurial bug when we were dating. And I guess it took me until last year to really pull the trigger.
Yeah.
My past is in nonprofit management and development and working with young people. And now I own and run my own women's boutique. That is a source of encouragement for women as well as style. And we live out here in O'Fallon. So I guess that's the best thing to describe us, really.
That's good. And so you said you grew up in Chesterfield?
I did.
Right? What high school did you go to?
I went to St. Joe's Academy.
Okay, we have to ask.
Yeah,
that's the St. Louis thing.
The thing. Yeah, I went to St. Joe's, but I grew up, which is obviously not in Chesterfield, but went to Catholic high school, and I grew up Catholic.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about, let's just jump right
growing
into
up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my background, I come from a big extended family. My parents are one of 9 and one of 10, and most people live here. So I have 45 first cousins, I believe.
My goodness. Really?
Yes. And I would say most of them live here. So,
and remind me, what is your hair?
I'm
Italian. Okay. That's okay.
Both sides.
So
that Italian Catholic. So lots of babies, lots of kids.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah. I grew up going to Catholic school, from K to 12.
Okay.
And, I always associated. So for me, I always felt like I had a good hold on my faith. And I always was a believer and felt spiritually connected and cared about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I always, since it was part of school, it was something you had to learn and get a good grade on. And I'm a perfectionist by nature. And so it's super competitive. So for me, a lot of my religious growing up had to do with performance and being a perfectionist. And all of those things, which are, a huge part of my story later on too, and the undoing of a lot of that and just getting, somewhere else. But I grew up in that sports. I traded sports in for theater in high school a little bit.
Okay.
I got a little burnt out, if you will. If you know me now, athletics are my thing. And so it was a season of life where I just wanted to just jump into something new. So as a kid, I was just like always trying to do my best at whatever I did, but would burn myself out on a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And then again, just like,
so you kind of try one thing and then be like, okay,
yeah,
I'm all
would do
in,
it for
and
like
now I
years
gotta-
and like travel and do all the things for it, and then just be like, I can't. I would burn out. So
What sports did you play?
I played competitive softball and volleyball.
Okay.
And basketball, but softball and volleyball were my
impressive.
main. Yeah.
So you did that and then you made a switch to theater?
Yeah. So in high school, I was supposed to try out for volleyball and softball. And I just told my dad I wasn't going to do it. And I come from a very intense sports family.
Okay.
So my sisters each had like 4 state championships at our high school for tennis.
Okay.
And my dad's a softball coach, volleyball coach, basketball coach.
Okay.
And that was not something that happened in our family, you would say. But,
So
I'm glad I did it for a little bit. I got some experience. I think I don't know. That's part of my personality too is my parents will tell you like she's always off trying that next thing that she wanted to try. And
I think that's exciting.
I
think it's exciting.
It
As a person
fun.
who doesn't always do that, I'm always intrigued by people that are like, I'm going to do this and now I'm going to do this. And I'm like, that's amazing.
But sometimes it's not great because I just jump a little too much. It's like relationships too,
Okay.
Back in
Well,
my day.
I'm going to have to talk about that in a minute
That's
too.
a different one.
I am curious about the theater thing. Do you have like a favorite show you were in?
I was in A Midsummer Night's Dream and I love Shakespeare. So I loved that I thought it was going to be a lot harder to memorize lines and stuff, but it's easier because, there is rhythm and pattern to it. So that was really fun for me.
Okay.
Costumes were wild and it was just a really fun time.
That's really
probably
cool.
my favorite.
So you did theater and then you jumped back to sports and where were you living where'd you go to college?
So I went to Mizzou. I'm a Tiger. I wanted to I was a journalism major. I wanted to go to Northwestern. That was since I was a kid. Since I was little.
Wow.
I knew that I'm going to go to Northwestern. That's where I'm going to go. That's where all the people who are smart go, Sarah.
Okay, yeah, well.
So that's where I wanted to go.
Exactly where I was not going.
Okay. And I was like, I'm going to get in. I had never thought for a second I couldn't get in because grades were life to me. And so Matt always laughs because we couldn't be more opposite as kids growing up. And I will never forget getting that rejection letter.
Really?
I applied to one school.
I
applied to one school for college because I was like, of course I'm going to get in.
And you didn't.
And I didn't get in. And I was like, my dad was like, well, Mizzou is in state and they have a really good journalism school. So you should probably start to look there. And I was like, I'm not going where everybody else is going. I refuse.
Okay, so that's huge. So 18-year-old Maria, I mean, it was my talk about that
biggest disappointment in my life as
Wow.
far as, outside of death of close family and things like that. But this is my first moment where I was like, you are breakable.
Yeah.
And you're not going to always, even if you feel like you earned it, you might not get it.
Right.
And you might not be good enough on paper for what somebody else said. And that was the first time that I was like, wow. I think I started to doubt my own self-reflection.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a point where you're like, wait a second, I'm pretty smart and I'm pretty good at reflecting. I know what the requirements were.
Right.
I did all the things. I'm like, so I started doubting my own judgment of my ability to think I was qualified to do things.
Okay.
And I think that's a huge thing that goes on in my story is this idea of qualification is then from there on out, I started feeling like I wasn't qualified to do a lot of things.
Right.
There's a couple times I started to try to test those waters of knowing I wasn't qualified, but trying to do something anyway. But you get beat up a couple times. You start to feel like, am I just misjudging my own qualification? Maybe I shouldn't be trying that or doing that, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I think everybody deals with that, right? It's a tension to feel like you're qualified to do something, and I want this, I want to do it, and then if you get rejected, you're like, what do I do now?
I think it's where your childhood, that innocence, that sort of that confident, that vulnerable confidence you have as a kid.
Yeah.
That it shifts at some point in your life where it's when you first get that dose of reality where you're like, wow, okay, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am.
Right.
I think we all face that at some season in some area of our life. And for me, that was it. And I was like, wow, okay, so maybe I'm not great.
Well, I think you're great,
being
Maria. So I
honest.
think, no, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So you ended up going to Mizzou.
and having the best time ever.
Okay, so
Meeting the best friends, having the best experience, because God is great like that, right?
Yes.
So it's like, that's where I was supposed to be all along.
Right.
I fought it because everybody I knew was going there, and I had a boyfriend going there that I didn't want to keep dating, but now I had to because we were both going to the same school.
Oh, no.
And all of these things, and for me, it was like, okay, wow, sometimes the things we're trying to run from are the things we have to meet head on.
Yes.
And for me, I just didn't want to. I had a hard time with girlfriends in high school, which is a huge wound of mine. And I really didn't want to be in college around anybody that I knew.
Right.
So I was just, I got kind of hurt. And as an adult looking back on it, I see my own role in it. But for growing up for so long, I have a wound of female friendships that took over a decade to heal.
Okay.
And so it started in high school. And I think, that's the nature of going to an all-girls school and things like that.
Right.
But it was just kind of like it was it was all happened at the one time. The college rejection, the girlfriend issue, senior year of high school. And then that's when my little bit of eating disorder start, which I'll talk about. Like it all kind of started at the same time.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you which one was the catalyst, to be quite honest with
Right.
you. But I think you start to you get those wounds and you say to yourself wow, I don't want to meet anything that has to deal with these. I want to run away from all of the things.
Yeah.
Which people would argue. After college, I moved to Texas.
Okay.
And that might have been running away from all of it again. You know what I mean? I didn't come back here. It's been it's about a decade since I left. And we just got back last year. And
Wow, yeah.
last year is when I had to face a lot of stuff that I ran from as a kid.
Okay.
And I think that, it's funny. I run a business now where, so my business is EmpowHER Boutique. And I started it because I feel like women are so powerful together.
Yeah.
And yet we're also each other's biggest, I don't want to say problem, but we can be each other's biggest critics.
Yes.
And bring each other down as well. And so I wanted to create a space, especially in the clothing industry, where it's like, these are times we feel really vulnerable and awkward.
Yeah.
But what if we created a really positive community around that?
Right.
And I was so scared to move back here in general because there are so many people I hadn't faced. I had made friends all over the country. I didn't need all the things I left behind and whatever. But I moved back here and I'm in need. I moved back here because we had a kid we needed help with. I moved back here and I didn't have the same kind of friendships I had when I left. I moved back here and I've almost felt like I was starting over.
Yeah.
But I had this thing in my heart to start this business. And it's so funny because that's the wound I've been trying to deal with for so long. And I was like, why do I need, why that, God? Why am I going to, but I see very well today. I have a circle of women around me. I have a chance to share my story with other women. I have a chance to hear their stories and encourage them and realize that sometimes you have to meet the wound to be healed by the wound. It makes sense where it's I had to be met. I had to be released from it by facing it. And there are so many things I think in my life and in all of our stories where it's we want to run from it to get over it.
Yeah.
Or hide from it, but we have to face it head on in order to be released from that thing.
Yeah. That's so good, Maria.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes it's you have to, God uses whatever those things are sometimes to be the catalyst for whatever the next thing is. And you're right, if you just avoided it forever, God might never have the chance to use it and let it be a part of his story that he's wanting to write for you. And you got an incredible, so back up just a minute and tell us
sorry,
how
I
did
skipped
you
over
get,
so many years.
No. And there's so many, we're going to come back people to all these things because Maria talked on a lot of things and I want her to talk about the boutique because it's really cool. But I want to back up. Where was the moment for you though, where you really, in all of this, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about your eating disorder and talk about how you came to know Jesus really more than just a religious experience, but a relationship with him.
Right. So, I would say I was a pretty devout Catholic, always, even in my, party days of college, would show up to church on Sunday, nighttime mass, not in the morning, but we'd show up, my girlfriends, I met friends there, we were in a sorority, and they were also Catholic, and we'd go to church together. I wouldn't say we acted like we go to church ever, but we went. And I started, I kind of told you guys at the beginning of my struggle with friendships and different things. Thankfully, I met some really great women when I first got to college.
Okay.
Who were just real people.
Yeah.
And I joined a sorority, I was really hesitant because I'm know. But those were girls that I met through that I'm like, you know what? If they're like these girls, then I want to be a part of that. Yeah. I like these people I met. And so I did that. And, you know, the first couple of years of college were really crazy and all of the things. I'll spare all the details of that. But throughout those, I went through a major breakup and a lot of other things too. And I started to my perfectionism, I'm an Enneagram 1. I know you are too.
Yes.
My perfectionism was always manifested itself as far as like grades and athletics and like being the best at things, at least trying to be, and then realizing I wasn't, but like trying to be. Yeah. And so in college, that looked like, well, I need to have the 4.0 and I need to have the immensely fruitful social life. Yeah. So I need to be out every night, but I still need to get a perfect GPA. And then I also need to have really good internships. So like for me, it was like, and then I need to like be going to the gym to make sure like everything, to me, it was like I had to, there should be no excuse as to why. Everything but my faith, really. Because faith, you could just show up at church. That's what I thought, and that counted. Like that was checking the faith box, you know?
Yeah.
So like those were all the things. So like to me, I didn't want anyone to think that I didn't have a handle on my life in any sphere of it.
Right.
That started attacking me physically, and it got to the point where like I can't even tell you how it started. Although I can't tell you how it started. So I went to Africa for 2 summers in college with the United Nations Association, Cosmo Girl, if you guys remember that back in the day.
Oh my goodness.
And Procter & Gamble. They did a women's health project there, and they selected 20 teens from the U.S. to go and do this project.
Got selected to go?
Yes. It was a big deal for me. Like it was something I felt really passionate about doing. And so I like had applied for it and forgot about it, and then was like, wow, I'm really going to go do this. My mom was like, oh my God, one of those things your parents cheer you on and they find out you're going and they're like, oh.
I really want to send my daughter to Africa.
Yeah. And it was like, it was like 5 or 6 weeks. And so it was like a decent amount of time. And so we went, and I think there you forget about yourself. And we were doing service projects, and we were in rural communities, and we were staying there. Like we were sleeping in tents at like behind the police fences on their property.
Okay.
And like, so like we were really in it, in like that rural aspect of it. And so like when it came to food, like you're working on stuff at the schools with the kids every day. And like if they ask you for a bite of your food, like I know in 5 weeks I can go eat whatever I want.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's this sense of like, I can handle anything for these 5 weeks.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to eat enough to survive, and that's fine. Whatever.
Right.
So we'll be fine. And so, and then my heart was just like seeing so much stuff. I think poverty in America and poverty in other places looks entirely different.
It does.
And just as a young person, seeing that head on was just like crazy for me, and we read about it, we know about it, but to experience it, to put like a warm hand on it, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And say like, I have held hands with somebody who that affected, like that to me changed me. And so I went back the second year as a leader for the next round of the 20 teens that they selected to do that project again. And it hit me even harder. And like, I took it a lot more, like, and then if you're a leader, then you feel like you need to be like, I don't know. I felt like I had to be more sacrificial so that other people could get what they needed. And like, it's just the whole thing. It was maybe unnecessary, but like, that's just how my mind was working at the time. So I got back from all of that. It was like the beginning of my junior year of college. And I had so many guy friends that were like, wow, you look so great. And I was like, great, I haven't eaten anything in like 6 weeks, like I'm like excited to come back and eat all the college pizza.
And eat all the food. Yes.
Drink all the beers and like all the things, and I'm like, wow, okay. So then I thought like, if I was to like, if somebody says you look great, and then if you were to do anything to add to that, like, you won't look great. Right.
Right.
And to a 21-year-old mind, that's really hard to like, obviously as an adult now, I can tell you, if somebody told me that, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah.
But back then my mind was really easy to manipulate. And so that poor friend did not mean any harm by it. Like the one that in specific that said it to me, but like, I started to kind of be like, I can't gain from this. And I think a lot of it was me dealing emotionally with the whole experience I had, then also dealing with this whole thing of like, I no longer wanted to do my major because I was like, I felt like it was I was a broadcast journalism, political science double major, and I wanted to go do, I wanted to be on cable news.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. Sorry, everybody. I want nothing to do with cable news now. Literally think it's like the bane of my existence. If it's on my TV, I want to turn it off.
That's hilarious.
But that's what I cared about a lot. And I went and did something, hand to hand with people. And I thought, man, real change happens when you're when you're just with people.
Right.
Like I don't need to be on news, like in hair and makeup and like talking about it. I need to be like in there with people doing stuff. And so that's when I like started looking into like other avenues. So I think it was my whole struggle with like what I was doing that this eating disorder just manifested. And then once it was so far in, it's like I knew what it was and I couldn't change it.
Right. Okay.
Because then to me, it looked like I was losing control. It would either be admitting I didn't have control or losing control to gain weight. And it was like both options felt like they weren't good options for me.
Right.
So I was like, I didn't really know how to change it. Now, my roommates at the time, these are the good people that I met, are like, hello, we see this.
Okay.
My parents are like, hello, we see this.
Yeah.
And they had kind of had conversations with each other, which I'm grateful for in retrospect.
Right.
At the time, I probably wasn't thrilled with it.
So did they like come and talk to you about it? Like what was
Yes and no. I actually approached, there was a certain point where I approached them. And well, my parents had brought it up to me a couple of times. Not, I wouldn't say unkindly, but like we're just a family that's very, aggressive.
Yeah.
When I'd come home and I was like, wow, like, like you don't look good.
Okay.
Like,
okay. They started to see
we're an aggressive family, so we just throw things like that out there, and not like private conversations.
You don't look good.
Conversations, Sarah.
Yeah, it's like everybody, your 45 first cousins are in the room.
Thank you. Okay, great. So like to me, it was just like this back and forth of like, I don't really know how to move forward in this, so I'm gonna stay in what I know at this point. And then it started getting bad. Like I couldn't sleep at night. Like I felt like I was having like heart palpitations and all kinds of stuff. But like I would show up at the gym like every morning super early. And my cousin was a med student there, and he had issues before with this. And him and I don't really speak very much. I have a lot of cousins, and we all have different relationships. But like he's super nice. But I guess he had reached out to my mom to let her know that like it's at a point where it's not good. And I remember like feeling like that. At what point are they going to pull me out of school?
Right.
At what point, at that point, I should have probably been in some sort of like inpatient treatment. I should have been in something. Like it was that bad. I probably was like to what I am now, probably like 45 pounds less. I would say around there.
And so was this?
And so it was like
your sophomore, junior?
I'm in my junior, going into like end of junior year, and so I remember being like, it's all going to fall apart in my head. I was like, is it in my car? I was driving to Walmart, of all places, and the Walmart off a stadium for everybody that knows Columbia. And so I remember being like, okay, at what point it's just all gonna like, if I don't do something, something's gonna like, whether it's like I'm gonna ruin all the relationships of my life, or I'm gonna ruin my body, or I'm gonna like whatever it is, it's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen if I don't do something. And I knew I should be getting treatment. My parents were like, I think my parents were on the like, if it doesn't change like tomorrow, I feel like they were going to do something. You know what I mean? And a lot of people might have chosen to do something before that. I'm glad mine didn't, to be honest. And this is kind of where I have like a different experience. I literally sat in my car and I was like, I've known Jesus my whole, like I've prayed like the prayers. I used to like growing up, I had like journals of like things I would talk to God about and like, but I never really had like this, I don't know. I was always be me talking, right? Like journaling, and like I was never knew about the listening part of the relationship.
Yeah.
I still don't know that as well. But so like, I always had these seasons, and I was in an off season of like my faith, but I was still going to church and showing up, and I still believe. I never didn't believe at any point.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about Jesus as our savior, at that moment, I never understood what that meant.
Yeah.
Jesus as my savior. I knew Jesus was God. I knew that was God. Like, he came and died to save us, but I didn't really understand that or use that.
Yeah.
So I think my moment where like Jesus saved me was I remember sitting in my car crying, and I was like, I don't have anything else.
Wow.
I don't know what to do. If you don't help me, there is no help for me.
Wow.
Like I don't think anything else can work at this point. So I said, I remember sitting there like this, like you just like hold my hand and walk me to go eat something that I finish and like keep in my body.
Okay.
And I went to like the McAllister's next to the Walmart on Stadium. I think it's was it Schlotsky's or McAllister's? And got whatever. I don't even remember what it is I ate, but I sat there by myself, which is just a strange thing to do in college anyway. And and ate that. And I was like, this is the beginning of something. And then I went home and I talked to one of my roommates and I'm like, I need you to ask me really hard questions every day.
Wow. Okay.
And I go, I don't mean to put that on you.
Yeah.
But I go, like, and that's, to me, it's like Jesus, in that moment I said, I need to give you all of it. And I don't know why. And I think sometimes he gives us people in our life to say, like, this is me showing up for you, is to these people. Gave me the courage to say that to my friend.
That's huge. Yeah.
And then another one of my friends at that time had started dating somebody who was from Colombia. And she knew I was, like, there's another one of my roommates. None of us have ever, like, really, like, we all went to church, but we didn't, like, whatever. And he was going to, like, a non-denominational church there. And she invited me that same, like, I think it's like a couple weeks later.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, I'll go with you. You want me to go with you? It's fine. Like, I don't care. And I'd never been to a church like that in my life. And
It's a little different.
And I don't even remember what it's called. And I've never been to anything like that in my life. But I can tell you I've been going to those churches ever since that moment, because I felt something different, and I'd never seen worship music like that. And I grew up going to, like, Life Teen and stuff in Catholic church. Like, I did some conferences and things. And so I had been in some environments kind of like,
Yeah.
but I hadn't experienced anything like that before.
Wow.
So I think that Jesus just started showing up for me. And then when I moved to Texas, it made it easier for me to kind of start church over.
Yeah.
And those are the only kind of churches I opened myself up to. And for me, my relationship with him just grew. I just kept making it an intentional part of every part of my day. Is like, Jesus isn't just Sunday, he's every day. And I think I never had that before. I never had the, like, this is my real, like, I have a relationship with him. He's here with me on this walk.
Yeah.
I've been released from, like, the idea that I had to, like, perform and do religion and been kind of walked into this idea of, like, relationship with someone, because that's how all good relationships are, right? No good relationship is us performing for somebody to like, to applaud for us and make us feel good. All good relationships are us being like, hey, I'm showing up every day. And once you have presence with somebody, vulnerability is so much easier to follow.
Yes.
Because it's like, when you get used to showing up with somebody and being in the same presence every day, it's like, well, then I could start sharing more. Even though God knows all this about me. But then when I shared more, vulnerability then glues you to somebody. So it's like, you have presence. The more you're in someone's presence, the more vulnerable you get. The more vulnerable you get, the more you're glued to that person. And for good relationships, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what happened with Jesus. Now, I can't imagine even, like, not acknowledging him every morning, every day, to me, it's just like, he's in me. This is all I have. Like, all I know is what he's done for me. I don't know anything else. Nothing else is true in my life besides that. So to me, that was how I really got saved.
Okay.
To be honest. And I'm grateful that he actually moved me away from St. Louis for a while, because I do think that I'm not sure if I would have been able to walk as freely in that. Not that anybody would have kept me from it, but all I knew here was Catholicism. All I knew here was cute. And then there's no shame to that. But that's not what he called me to. And he called me to a relationship with him, and that was keeping me from it for whatever reason.
No, that makes sense.
This idea that I had to perform, this idea of all these things, because for someone like me that's a perfectionist, being in religion gives me things to try to achieve.
Yeah, yeah.
And I couldn't be there and be healthy.
Right. No, that makes sense. So Maria, what happened with the eating disorder after all that?
I hesitate to share sometimes. And I think I didn't think I did a post on this recently. I really do hesitate to share sometimes, because I do feel like so many people need to go to treatment because they need tools in their life, and they might, I don't know why, Sarah, but for whatever reason, it stopped.
Okay.
Right there.
Really?
And it was not easy. I kept people in my life. I thought about it all the time. I think about it still.
Yeah.
It's still something that, like, I'm sure I could, like, I think that you can overcome it, but you have to also be really aware.
Yeah. Yep.
I just always tell people out loud if I'm ever experiencing any of those feelings. I'm just like, I tell somebody I know out loud, just because I'm like, it makes it real, and then it gets rid of it. And it's like, perfect. But for whatever reason, that never was another issue for me again. I was able to gain weight. I was able to, and then it's just been a series over the last 10, 11 years of just being like, he introduced me to strength and to all these different things where, like, I work out for what my body can do, not for what it can't do, or not as a punishment. And, like, now it's just become where I glorify him. And I think it's part of his story. Yeah. So he uses, like, I have been able to share the gospel with so many people through fitness. I've been able to, there are so many people I've met that, like, I would have never met had that not been something that he put in my heart to pursue. And some people are like, well, does it become dangerous too? For me, it's me worshiping him. Like that's how I worship. It's part of how my worship is like the people that I meet there. And if they ask me about my story and like, gosh, why can you this looks so easy for you, or you work so hard, or you're so like, oh my gosh, you're so strong. And but it's like, that's all him. Like I was not like, I can show you pictures. I was actually just doing a photo thing for Matt this morning on like showing him the difference and who I like, because he's never really seen the real photos of back in the day, and it's mind blowing, but that was Jesus. And that's like a testament to the strength inside of me, I think. That he uses that. And then my daughter's story of being like, I'm her muscle. Like I gotta be her person, So it's just another way for me to show what he's done in my life. And if that gets somebody to ask me about him, then great.
I think that's amazing. You just said a couple of different things. Like I think so times we think fitness and all of this stuff is we do it as a punishment to our body. And I think that's a huge thing in that.
A lot of women.
I mean, I'm doing it. Well, I ate this piece of cake. Well, now I need to go. And when you can do the mind shift that says my body gets to do this, I get to be a part of it, and that my body is a temple and I want to take care of it. It shifts the whole perspective of all of those things. Right. And it's hard. Doesn't make it, like you said, it's a constant battle. And I love what you said, that you tell somebody. And I think so many people listening, whatever the struggle is, whatever the thing is, it loses so much of its power and so much of its weight if we will just get in relationship with Jesus first, but with other people that we can be vulnerable with and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this today. I need to tell you about it. Because it just loses its hold on us too, instead of it just reverberating in our brains. And so you are able to overcome the eating disorder or fill in the blank with whatever the thing is, when we're able to go, hey, you know what, Maria, today I'm having this struggle. Can I just tell you about it? And like talk it out, or just let somebody else know.
Just make it real. Like get it out of your head and into the air, and somebody will be like, even that alone, I think, Sarah, will like help you diminish. It's the whole idea of light and darkness, right? Like you can layer light on top of light and light will shine brighter. We all know that. But like if you put light into the darkness, like you're gonna see better than you did before. So you're at least putting a little bit of light in this dark spot and saying, whoa, maybe not as scary anymore. Maybe it's not that big of a deal now. So I got it out there, and I kind of see how silly it is when I say it. I go, oh yeah, that's silly. I don't need to think like that.
Well, one more question on the eating disorder thing, and then we can move on. But I'm sure with just the wide gamut of people we have listening, there's probably somebody that has either struggled with that or is struggling right now. What would you just say as an encouragement to somebody who's like maybe right now in the middle of that or figuring that out? Do you have just something you would encourage them to do or say?
I mean, my biggest thing is if you're a believer, ask Jesus to come alongside of you. Like I really, and I hope that doesn't sound light, but to me, it's the biggest tool we have. Jesus has peace for us, and whatever's happening to us, this hold on us is evil. It's evil, and he wants to crush that evil with his peace. Right? It's like the God of peace will soon crush Satan under my feet. It's my favorite verse in the Bible. But it's like this idea that like we in their peace with Jesus can easily crush these evil things that are happening to us. We just have to lean on it. So I would say just like daily, if you can wake up each day and just start talking to the Lord and start journaling maybe what you're saying to him and seeing, and then stopping to listen and seeing what you're hearing back. If you're not a believer, but you know somebody that is, ask them to pray for you and just say, hey, like, I don't know what is going on with me, but like, I know you're a prayerful person. Is there anything could you pray for me and just tell me if you hear anything? I'm a big believer in prophetic word too. And so like, I do believe that there are people out there that if they pray for you and they might not even know specifically what they're supposed to pray for, they will come back to you with like this is what I got. I don't know what it means for you, but I'm supposed to tell you this. I think surrounding yourself with people out there who are prayerfully considering things, or who are going to God in prayer and saying, hey, like, I don't believe that, but like, if that can offer me some help, I'd like for you to pray for me and see if there's something he wants to say to me. And that's the best way I can connect to it right now. Then I think it's a good start too, but I really do. And I mean, if you're completely against anything when it comes to like the faith element of it, just start journaling in general in the morning, like right away when you wake up, and start letting all those things that you're thinking about yourself get out of your head. If you don't feel comfortable sharing them with somebody, just get a piece of paper and a pen. And if you watch it come out of your own head onto paper, there's something therapeutic about the release that I think will do more for you than you even think. I think I heard that before and I was like, that sounds dumb. And then I did it and I was like, oh wow, there's a lot to that.
That's huge. Thank you, Maria, for talking about that. That's great. Hey, just interrupting this conversation with Maria for a quick moment to tell you about a really exciting event coming here to the St. Charles area. You've heard us talk a lot about Fearless Women. Our friend Christy Boulware was on a couple episodes ago, and then you heard her again on the Car Chronicles. She is the founder and president of Fearless Women, and we love their organization and what they do and what they support in our community. And they've got a real heart for teens, about helping young teens overcome fear, anxiety, and worry, all of the things that are so prevalent, especially in that age group. So they've got a really cool conference. It's called Fearless Women Teens, and they've named this one, it's called Elite. It's a one-day conference, November 7th at North Road Church, Harvester. It's for young girls ages 6th through 12th grade, and Will and I would love for you to come be a part. You're going to recognize some of our faces of guests that have actually been on the show. Christy's going to be there. A few episodes back, we had our friend Erica. Erica has been helping plan it and being a part of the teens crew of Fearless. Our own daughter Lillian is going to be there helping with worship. Brandon Johnson was one of our very first guests. His wife Phoenix is going to be speaking at it, and you might even recognize the voice talking to you right now. I might make a special guest appearance there as well, but we are really excited. And our friends at Fearless Women wanted to offer you guys a special discount as just a thank you for being a part of our show. And so you can use the coupon code something good, all caps, all straight together, something good, to get $5 off the registration for the Fearless Teen one-day event. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. So if you are a young girl listening from ages 6 to 12th grade, go sign up. If you are a parent of a teen, go sign them up. And if you know a teenage girl, somehow send them this and get them involved. We know it's going to be a huge blessing in their life and help them make more and more steps towards Jesus. So go check it out. You can go to fearlesswomenstl.com/events to find all of the details. Now, here we go. Back to my conversation with Maria. Let's switch gears and talk about your clothing boutique, because I know you said they kind of all go hand in hand, and I love it. And so just tell everybody again what it's called,
So it's called EmpowHER.
Yes.
HER.
I love it.
I know, and it looks better on paper than it does coming out of my mouth. Sometimes I think that I'm like, I should have maybe tweaked that a little bit, but
I think it's perfect.
I love it. So for me, it's always been like, I've gone through what I've gone through, but for me, clothes have always been like a creative outlet, an expressive way to express myself. And like my history of whatever, I've always had friends and family who are like, trying to find something for this. Will you find me something for this? Or like just all the way throughout my life. I'm the best shopping partner. I'll make you buy everything. I'll buy nothing. It's great. My friends hate it.
That is
so like, how did I spend all this money and you spent $0? I'm like, I don't know.
I feel like we need to go shopping together.
Yeah,
right?
it's so fun.
Let's go.
I like it. And I love like just making people feel like, I love when people start to feel confident in themselves. Like to me, that's the whole why.
Yeah.
It's like to look at you and say like, you put something on, you're like, I feel good in this. It's like, yes, that is it.
Yeah.
Clothes are superficial. I get it. Like I'm like more so than the next person. But at the same time, if that can be a positive beginning to how you feel about yourself and relationship with other women, then it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing. And so for me, I wanted to just continue to create a positive narrative around this whole idea of like our body and our confidence and style.
Yeah.
And that gave me a great place to do it. I have great women, you know, from a family perspective in my life, and I was looking to build new friendships, and it was really scary to go like, be like, hey, I don't really have that many like new friends here.
Yeah.
I haven't seen my old friends in years, but like I'm going to do, I remember I told my husband, I go, I'm going to do one really big event and I'm going to buy all this stuff. And I go, and I will know after this one big thing that this is either going to be a good idea or a bad idea.
Wow.
And he's like, I've never seen you execute something so quickly. He's like, you have so many ideas. And I was like, I just knew I was supposed to.
Yeah.
So last November, I put on this big event at O'Fallon Brewery, and like it was a shopping event, and people came, like people from my gym, old friends, new friends, my family, people's like neighbors, and I was like, oh my gosh, like people want to have so I had people write down their goals for extra discount when they came. Like if you share one goal with me, and then I kind of like kept those and would bring them back up to them later on. And my whole thing is too, like, I'm a goal. If you guys listen to Matt's podcast, we goal set for a living. And before I did a boutique, that was what I did for young people, was help them with that. So like, it's important to me. But this whole idea of like, just like putting positive thoughts on paper and being vulnerable with other women to share that is a huge deal.
Yes.
So it just helps in the confidence department to say like, I know you and you're shopping for jeans, but I love to know that you're trying to put your phone down for less screen time for your kids at night. Like, I love to know that because I want to encourage you on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about it later. And the fact that you could tell me that is awesome, or whatever it is, your thing that you're working on. Like, I don't know what it is. But like, so some women are trying to do 5 pull-ups. So if I'm her friend at the gym and I see her on the pull-up bar, I'm going to be cheering extra loud for her.
Yeah.
So it just gives you more things that you can cheer for women in your life along the way. And I think that in this world, we really need it.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't think social media is a bad thing. Well, you know, we're in election year, so it's kind of a bad thing. But outside of that, I do think it's what we make of it. I think we curate our own feeds. Like, we can follow people that we believe are encouraging. We can, so you can kind of like create this space for yourself. So, why not? Like, and most of what I do now is through social media, but we do like 1 or 2 pop-ups a month and try to stay in person as well. But I try to just put positive stuff out there. And that's what I try to do in general on the internet. Like, I believe that God can be very present on social media if we are allowing that to happen and we just do it. So part of that came from that as well, that I wanted it to be a social boutique as well, because I wanted to be able to encourage people with positive messages and like, between you and me, share the gospel without sometimes them knowing it.
Yes, you do. Maria does an incredible job of that.
Like, I really try to every day.
You do great. You need to go follow her because it is on. So you have your whole boutique. You can find it on Facebook.
Yes. So our biggest thing is our Facebook group. Like, you can follow my boutique and like it on Facebook, EmpowHER Boutique and Dream Studio, and you can also do that on Instagram at Shop EmpowHER. But the Facebook group is where it's really fun. It's interactive. It's people like posting their pictures and like 25 girls that don't even know them being like, you look beautiful.
It's so cool.
Like, you know, stuff like that. So, and that's called the EmpowHER Goal Gang. And so to me, that's why I do it. I have the other pages because you're supposed to, I guess.
Yeah, I understand.
And I don't like to use them as much. But like, the Facebook group is like, I'll go live every day, you know. Usually like in sweaty workout clothes or pajamas with my glasses on and no makeup. But like, I just want to be real with people and show them, you know, style is fun and it can be encouraging. And as women, like, we do want to band around each other. And like, there is a positive element to all of this as well. But too, just like kind of like part of my story is like releasing people from, I do talk about goals, but I also want to release people from the idea of like what goals should really mean. Too, the goal isn't the goal.
Yeah, talk
about like the walk is the goal, right? So like the fact that you put your goal out there in a public space and you're willing to be vulnerable and then you're willing to take some actions and try some things to get to a spot. Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah,
the point isn't you get into the spot, I don't think. If we're going to talk about it from a faith perspective, which I love to do, is like, if you're a believer, setting a goal is really just being deeply in prayer with God and saying, help me cast a vision. Like, I want to see through your eyes where you want me to be in all of these different spheres of my life. And I'm going to cast this with you, Jesus, and I'm going to walk in that direction. And at any point in time, if you don't think that you don't want me to get to the, whatever it is, the 5 pull-ups, let's just say, for example, but you wanted me to grow along the way, then that's the point of it all. The point is like that we're just released from the outcome. It's like we set this vision with God and we say, what do you want from me? And what spheres do you want me to walk in? He might have wanted you to do the 5 pull-ups because the girl you're going to be practicing next to, she needed a friend and now you're her friend.
Love it. Yes, absolutely.
In a season of her life where she didn't have anybody. So he didn't really care about your 5 pull-ups. Whatever. He needed you to be over here being on his mission, but you set the vision with him. So you set that goal based on the vision that you prayerfully considered with God. And so you're released from the outcomes. I always say to people, set the goal, take the steps, and release yourself from the outcome of it.
Because that's so good.
It is not up to you to get to the outcome. Like you could even do all the right things and not get the outcome. Right. So like then was the goal of failure? I don't like that. I don't like that concept to me. Don't tell Matt I said any of this.
No, I won't. No, but I think it's that classic, there's joy in the journey. And like you said, and sometimes it's just proving to yourself you can do something. So even if you get to the 5 pull-ups, it's just like, man, I set a goal and I accomplished something. And sometimes those little steps, like even whatever it is huge. And so
it could be releasing you something from in your heart or your own confidence. Wow, I got to something I never thought I could. Release me from this idea that I feel like I'm not qualified or whatever to do something.
So men listening, go get any females in your life, get them connected.
To
Maria. So we don't want to, but there's so many great things. Really, you guys got to go follow her. It is super encouraging. I do not say that. It is, you do a really great job about putting positivity out there.
you.
And the clothes are super cute. And that's what I love. You've got it for all, I mean, just nitty gritty. So if somebody wants to go check it out.
Yeah.
All sizes, all different. I
We
mean,
always try our best to get all sizes. There's a lot of stuff. Sometimes I can get leggings and up to 2, 3X. I try to go like from extra small to 2, 3X. Sometimes I'm bound by the vendor. Sometimes it's only small to large. It depends on the item, but we're always seeking out stuff. So don't be afraid to ask me too. If you're in the group, say, hey, I'm this size and I'm looking for this. I'd love to find it for you. So that's what I like to do.
and you have like I love a wide range of style. You have accessories, all kinds. I
Yeah.
mean, you
Yeah.
put out so many different things. So you guys really need to go check
Thank
it out.
you.
Gifts, Christmas is coming.
Yes, lots of good Christmas gifts coming.
Yes, and Maria's been posting sweaters, and I may or may not have to stop buying things on there because Will's going to be, he's not going to be happy to be really on this podcast. No,
I'm not husband's favorite friend.
that's all right, but it's good. And I think there's so much, like you said, just being confident in what you're wearing, and that's what you're sharing with people, and it's huge. It's so much more about the clothes than the clothes, but just how you feel in them and the way to express yourself. And I think it's super cool. So keep that up, Maria. I love it. I love it.
I appreciate it.
We'll make sure to link all that too for you guys
Yeah.
listening to find everything and they can go check it out. Okay. Do you want to talk for a little bit about Nat?
Yeah.
You guys call her, it's Natalie, but you call her Nat G.
We call her Nat G. That's Matt. That's a Matt thing.
I love
we called her Nat G right out of the gate.
Really?
And
Okay.
everybody started calling her Nat G, and she's Nat G.
She's adorable.
She is really
She is-
funny. So we have been blessed with the gift of Nat. I always like to say, and I hadn't felt that way for, at first, because I there was just so many things that as a young mother, first timer, you're scared of. So like when your little baby isn't meeting certain things, you're like, this doesn't feel like a blessing.
Yeah.
This does not feel like a blessing. But
Can you tell a little bit of that story? So,
Yeah.
how did it go?
So I got pregnant with Natalie pretty quickly after a miscarriage. So the entire pregnancy itself was just like what's going on? Then I started hemorrhaging at like 20 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Like very intensely, thought I miscarried her.
Oh.
But then everything cleared up. It was like the weirdest thing. And I had like a wonderful rest of my pregnancy. It was very bizarre. So we were like feeling very peaceful. Everything was measuring fine inside. Like, I mean, all that kind of stuff was pretty good. When I went into labor, she came out with like an initial really low APGAR. So that's the score for people that haven't had babies, that your baby gets assigned right when they come out. But then within a minute or two, it went up to a normal number. They reassessed and went up. So I was like, okay. She came out blue. But then so they're not really sure what really happened there. But we've been told that has nothing to do with what's going on now.
Okay.
That it was a genetic thing that was already. So around 6-7 months, she had sat up on time. She was like kind of low tone, but we didn't really know because we never had a baby before.
Right.
So we're like, and our ped would always be like, oh, she's a little low tone, but some kids are low tone for a while. And whatever. She sat up on time. She rolled over. So I'm like, this same is like, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe she might need some PT, when she's like 1. So about 1, she hadn't crawled at all. And I'm like, and even our P was like, all right, let's get in PT. We'll do some stuff. And she never was able to bear weight on her hands and knees like that.
Okay.
She had never stood up yet either. And obviously didn't walk because she couldn't sit up. And then that's when we're just like, okay, well, maybe it's going to be delayed. And sometimes I've been talking to some people. I'm like, oh, that happened to my kids. It was 2 or 3 before they started walking. And I'm like, she's going to be okay. And I'm like, okay, great. Kept hearing really good positive stories. Well, things just kept progressing and getting like a little bit more intense. And then she was about 2, right before her 2nd birthday, we were just like, and fast forward, I had gotten pregnant again and had Zach. So,
They do have a 2nd child in there. He's adorable too,
by the way. So, because I didn't think any of this was genetic. I was told that it was, this is initially when we still thought it was maybe had to do with birth and she would be fine. And like,
because how far apart are they?
They're 20 months.
Okay.
20 months. So, we had thought like whatever. So I didn't even think of it being genetic, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, because neither of our families had anything like this, and it wasn't that progressed yet when I got pregnant.
Okay.
So I didn't really know. So, she's about to be 2. I had just had Zach about 2 months earlier, and things we're just like it's not going anywhere. So we were able to get into a therapeutic program here in St. Louis that we had been trying to get into. And if you guys know Matt and I, we weren't just like, oh, let's go to St. Louis for a little bit and like whatever. We're like, sell the house, pack it up, we're going. Like,
so you literally, that's what made
we sold our house in 4 weeks.
Oh my
we
gosh.
packed up our house, we moved. We lived at my parents.
All with
We didn't have anywhere to live. We
2-year-old.
lived at my parents' house for while we built out here in O'Fallon, and it took a lot longer than they said it was going to take. So we didn't move until October. So we lived with my parents from March till October.
Oh, wow.
Which is just like I've always lived on my own. So
With
I'm like, this
Nat G and a brand new
with
baby.
Nat G and a brand new baby.
Okay.
And like my poor mom, man, she wasn't ready for it. And yeah, so like we're just still trying to like, what is all of this? And so we got into starting seeing all the good neuros here, and St. Louis has unbeknownst to us, like St. Louis is the place to be for anything related to neuromuscular disorders.
Okay,
for peds,
wow.
in case you're wondering.
That's good to know.
And so we're like doing it, and we got one neuro who wanted us to do all this genetic testing, and we're like, all right, whatever. So we're doing it all, and like still trying to figure out what's going on with her. And he had thrown around some really scary things to us, and we're like, we never looked those up or saw those. Like I'm like, man, well, anyway. So fast forward, like we're in the ICU 6 times, so that kind of speeds up everybody who's on her doctor's teams. Like they all want to know what's going on. Like this isn't making sense, what's happening, and all this kind of stuff.
And the ICU visits were she
were
got
long
sick.
too. She'd get RSV or something.
Yeah,
and it would take her. Then she'd get RSV, pneumonia, and like 7 other viruses because her body would just like, and it would just be from getting a cold. Like we would all have had the same cold in our house, and it would just not take her out.
Yeah.
And so, and she wasn't feeding. So now she's feeding by a tube. She wasn't feeding by a tube yet, but she also can eat by mouth. It's just that like sometimes things get caught, or she can aspirate or whatever. Yeah. So that's more of the story. Anyway, so I think it was our final ICU visit this year, right before COVID and everything. We got the results back of her genetic test, and they did. This is like the third deep dive into it, which I learned all these things. It's like you do one layer, and usually you find your answer there. If you don't, you dig a little bit deeper. Into the next one.
Okay.
Then if you don't, you dig a little bit deeper. So you're going to all these like so many genes, and they found this one thing that like I guess 17 people have, and it all adds up to this. So she's got a mutation on her PYROXD1 gene, which causes a very rare form of muscular dystrophy. So she is actually the most one of the worst, let's say worst cases of it, and earliest onset, and it's progressive. So like all of those things, right? So, no wonder we were like not seeing a lot of progress in therapy because it's progressive for her. A lot of people it doesn't hit them till they're in their 30s, maybe their teens. Okay. Some kids like 10, 9, 11. Yeah. So hers is she never had that ability. So part of my mama heart gets really upset because it's like, what does that mean? You know? Yeah. I try not to stay there too long. Yeah. I've sat with that with God and said, whatever her life is, you have a purpose for it. And I am here for that purpose of it. Yeah. And she's your daughter more than she's my daughter. And I know you want good things for her. Yes. So if you decide that this world isn't the good thing for her, then I got to be okay with it. Yeah. And she's just a fun, and sometimes I think that people that don't have faith, I've had have made me feel like I'm being passive in my daughter's care. Yeah. And I get upset about it because I'm like, he knew what he was doing when he put her together. And like, she is able to walk into a room and make a statement. She's able to walk into a room and she talks about Jesus and she shares with people about it and she prays to him and all of these things. And like, I can't tell you how many conversations we've had, how many people's faiths have been changed by seeing this this little girl, that if she wasn't in that situation, some people might not know Jesus the way they know Jesus. And the whole point of this world is for us to point to him and to glorify him. Yeah. And that's happening more than ever in her little life. So whatever that is, however long that is here on earth, like that's not up to me, but I can make the best of it. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop looking for therapies and things that will help her cope. Yeah. But I'm not like going to sit there and abuse her through hundreds of things that are going to poke holes in her just so that I as a mom feel more comfortable. Does it make sense? Like it's not for me. Yeah. Yeah, I want her to do all those things, but like at what cost? Right. And so I think that's the journey we've been walking this last year is watching her like kind of mature into her faith and her story. And she owns it. She's got more confidence than I ever would in anything.
Can you tell us an Nat G story? Because this is like literally incredible. Like when you hear-
okay, so I mean, there's the first one that happened was when we were gone and my mom was watching her and she had her monitor. I come back, my mom's recording with her, this is my mom, recording her phone, recording a video of the monitor through her phone like this. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, she is talking to Jesus right now. She was 2. She just turned 2. and saying very specific things and things we haven't like, sometimes kids pray in ways you've told them to pray. Things we haven't said to her to say. And like, so like that's kind of the start of it. And then she has this ability to like know when people believe or don't believe, which is very bizarre. Matt and I are like we were a little weirded out by it at first, to be honest with you. Like I was kind of weird.
I mean, she's too, I mean, we're talking about it.
And so like she would know who was a believer and who wasn't. And like, it was very interesting to me. Cause she does not know in our family who and who, whatever. And it's a weird thing, but she wants to share Jesus with everybody. So like, she'll talk about him. She'll, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. And like, we've been in the hospital a lot. And sometimes she'll just turn to me and be like, Jesus is here. He's with some of these kids right now, Mom. And I'm like, I know, you know what I mean? I know that, but I'm like, actually I knew it in my head, but not in my heart, but thank you for bringing it down to my heart.
Yeah.
Now I feel it.
Right.
But just like, she'll say that, she's felt it, or he told her this, like last night, Jesus told me this, like when she's in the hospital and places like that, and she'll want to go back and pray for those kids and let them know that somebody's there. It's crazy, but she's just also socially, for somebody who's in her situation. So she's in a wheelchair, who's in her situation, like after COVID, so many people like haven't seen kids and all this stuff. We go, church opens back up, kids ministry opens back. Yeah. She's in her wheelchair for the first time at church. And she's just like, bye Mom, I'm going to class. Like wheels are in. She doesn't want me to come up to the door. She just like flies in on her wheelchair. And I'm like, she does not need me.
No, well,
I need her. She doesn't need me. That's how I feel.
It's awesome. It's like God knew, and I love these stories. It's like maybe her physical muscles do not work in the same way.
Right.
But her spiritual muscles are like on a whole nother level. Cause like you'll just tell the stories and I'm like, oh my gosh, that gives me God bumps, or just it's encouraging. Yeah. And I know you guys have to be in the place you are with your faith to be able to say that. And that's huge. And I know you just sharing what you shared is going to encourage people listening, because all of you listening, you've got fill in the blank with X, Y, and Z. That's really hard. And we talk a lot about here. It's our whole thing of like, man, see the good and that there is extraordinary in the everyday ordinary. And we get to choose our perspective. And you and Matt could be in a totally different perspective headset with everything going on. Cause it's hard. Right. It's hard. You wouldn't have chose this for your story. You probably wouldn't choose it for your daughter, but that God is doing so much in and through it, and your heart and perspective with it, I think is super encouraging to everybody listening, that God can do infinitely more than we can ever hope, ask, or imagine. And he's doing that every day in our lives. And are we going to surrender it to him? And so
that's good. And I think, because I think that this is the biggest lesson I've learned is we all know, the consider it joy, when you face trials, like we've heard that for so long. But to me, like in the last 2 years of her story, I've learned, my heart has learned the difference between joy and happiness. Like to me, it's like, I'm not happy. Like I don't want anyone to get like and I tell some people this that are in my life, just I'm like, I want you to know, like, I'm not happy that this is happening to my daughter. I'm very sad about it. Yeah. I'm oftentimes mad about it. Yeah. I'm upset for her. I'm upset for me, if that means I have to lose her one day. Like, I am upset, mad, angry. I'm all these things that don't resonate with happiness sometimes. Yeah. But I'm always joyful, because joy is found in Jesus, right? So it's like, I know without a shadow of a doubt, whether I'm angry, mad, sad, or whatever about it, that doesn't diminish the joy, because I know that there's purpose in what's happening with her. And so like I had to my heart really kind of wrestled with the difference, and it really feels it. It's like, just because I'm happy doesn't mean I don't have joy. Just because I'm not happy doesn't mean I don't have joy. Yeah. And I do have joy, and sometimes I'm sad and I have joy. That's just sometimes how it has to work out. Yeah.
Let's talk about this a little more, because I think that's huge, because I think oftentimes, I think we might have had this conversation before, that we feel like we have to check our emotions at the door when it comes to Jesus. He made them all. If we believe he was really human, which we do, he experienced all of them while he was here in human form. And it's like, God can handle the anger, the sadness, the mad, the happy, all of the things at the same time. But oftentimes we're the ones that feel like, well, I can't come to Jesus because I'm mad or what. And it's like, hey, he's sitting here with us in there. So can you talk a little more about like, what has that been like for you to wrestle with all of the feelings and the joy? And are there things that you cling to in that time, or things that you've found that helped encourage that? Or I think a lot of people will resonate with that.
Yeah, there's a couple things. I mean, for me, first and foremost, like marriage has been a blessing, because here's the deal. Like if I can't go to and I guess sometimes I think about like, my relationship with God is like so my relationship with Matt, my husband, our marriage is just like a small glimpse at the relationship I have with God, right? Yeah. So it's like, when I'm all these feelings, if I don't go to my husband with them, it's only going to make the relationship worse. So like if I don't do that with God, then it's not going to be a fruitful relationship.
So good. Yeah.
And while he already, unlike Matt, he already knows what I feel.
Matt, who might be a little confused sometimes. Yeah.
He already knows what I feel. It's like, it's not dishonest, but it's like not being vulnerable in your relationship. So I think we have to think of our relationship with God like we would with our husbands or our significant others or whatever, but like magnified. So it's like, why would you not want to? And I always remind myself, bring it to him. Like, go, say what you're feeling. He already knows it, but like that's part of the relationship building. I think there. So that is one thing that really, really, really helps me. Another thing is like, well, there's this concept, especially for moms, of this, like, there's like all these cute graphics that go around that say like, you know, you are enough.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm enough. Tell your girls they're enough, you know, like that kind of thing. And I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I really hate that. And I think for me, a big thing that's helped me cope with all of this is like, I'm not enough. And I wasn't supposed to be enough. In fact, if I'm enough, then I'm missing Jesus.
Then you don't need him.
I'm enough with him. I mean, that is the truth, right? Like that's for all, like that is why he came so that we could be enough, be filled with the Spirit and go and do things in his name to glorify him. But this idea that like, it's like, I think I was talking about last night I'm in an impact group for fearless women. I was talking about this last night.
That's so cool.
I was talking about the roller coaster of enough. So like today I'm enough, tomorrow I'm not enough. Today I'm enough, tomorrow I'm not enough. Because I'm in the flesh. That's how I feel. Some days. I go, but that's so unhealthy. So I just hate this whole concept of the enough thing. So I'm like, I don't want to tell my friends they're enough. I don't want to tell myself I'm enough because you're not enough. I'm not enough. I want to tell you that you're enough when you're with Jesus. And you can always be enough when he's with you. Like that's the truth, because in my flesh, I will always be chasing it if not. And I'd rather chase him than chase the enoughness of the world. And that's just like, so as a mom, I'm like, as a mom of a special needs kid, especially, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, how could I don't know what to do to help you. You know what, Maria? You're not enough, but you're enough through Jesus. And Jesus is going to equip you with the doctors you need. He's going to equip you with, at the moment, the right people you need in your life, the right church, the right friends, the right family, the right community. And he's going to do all that to help you feel enough in those moments with all the people. Not you solo, Maria, enough, but you, Maria, plus your community enough, like that God has ordained for your life. So like that is what it is. And I don't know. I just don't like I don't like all those like,
I think that's
bracelets, and I get it. Like I think I even had one like a year ago, and I'm like, but recently I've just been like, I hate it.
But let's be honest, there's a fine line between like the self-motivation and the Jesus motivation. And our world has captured.
True. I want you to feel like you shouldn't feel like you can't do something, like you're not enough to do. Like you are qualified. Maybe that's what we should change it to. I'm qualified in Christ to go and do whatever.
I'm enough because Jesus is enough. But if you just if you take the Jesus out, then what's the point?
Right.
It's not enough. And she said something, so you said, I know Will wrote it down, but I have to want Jesus. Jesus is more than enough. I have to want Jesus more than I want the world's enough. And that's so good. And that's
it's taken a long time for me to get there.
I'm getting older, and I still, that is a struggle.
I still fight it every day.
I don't think it's probably a struggle we will have always this side of heaven, but it's that surrender piece that you talked about. It's just like, man, am I going to want that Jesus and I can do this better? And he and I will always do it better than me on my own every single time. But oftentimes we try to do it on our own.
Oh yeah. I've been trying to do it on my own for a long time. I was always like,
and you were like, that didn't
go. No wonder I was hitting my head so many times. Well, and I think too, and that alludes back to the EmpowHER business. It's like, that's the first time that I let him guide me. So many times I'm like, I'm going to try this because I want to do this. And I want to try this because I want to. And this is the first time when he's like, I'm supposed to do this. And I really don't know if I want to. I don't feel comfortable doing this. And Matt's like, he's like, this is perfect. This is exactly what you should do. There's people that kept coming into my life being like, you should do this. You should do this. And I'm like, why is everybody telling me this all of a sudden? I like it. I like the idea of it. But I also am very scared of it. And I don't want to do that. It's not comfortable for me.
Right.
And so I think sometimes when we start to be like, well, I'm not enough, but he's enough. And he gave me 25 people that told me that they went to them and they're going to be part of this. So together we're all going to be enough with Jesus, with him, with all it's like that element of like, it feels better. It's like, of course you're going to, I don't know. I think when
you have a shirt that says that yet?
No.
I feel like that might need
Maybe
to
that
be,
might need to
I'm
be a
not enough,
shirt.
but GS is enough, or
That's a good
something like.
one.
I think you need
There's going to be something in there.
maybe put it on your. Because say real
I
quick
like
in
that.
your boutique, you have a line, and I'm still figuring out about Nat G, right? That's for
Yeah, so let your fight shine. So that
Yes.
came from
I love
and that's a very like to me, so let your light shine. Like this little light of mine has always been like a fun little song growing up. And my mom always loves the idea of shine. She'd always say to us shine on and like this idea of shining and shining your light and all this kind of stuff. So for me, it was like, but when you have a struggle, we always try to hide it. And I think this is a lot to do with Empower and with Nat G. It's like, but what if we took that struggle and we let the struggle shine? People would come to you. You feel vulnerable. There's all these things that the beauty that comes out of like people being like, here's what I'm struggling with.
Yep.
And I mean, think about it. It's like, how can you not love on somebody when they're being vulnerable with their struggle?
Absolutely.
And so I think people like Nat, like people want to love on her because every day she has to be vulnerable with her struggle.
Yeah.
So the let your fight shine was part of like, that's when she inspired me to that because it's like every day this little girl lets her fight shine. But how great would our lives be if we like listen to that lesson of like, wow, that thing, that dark thing that I'm struggling with, like what if I let that shine and said like shared that? Like that's why I share my eating disorder. It's why I share different things that are dark in my stories. I'm like, I gotta let the fight part of it shine. Because that's where Jesus came and did all the cleanup. That's where he did the work. That's where he, that's letting him shine ultimately in our fight. It's like when we're our weakest, he shines the greatest. And it's because we know it's not us.
Absolutely.
So that's why I like that concept so much. And so I have done a couple pieces and we're going to do another one next month.
Okay.
And I'll let your fight shine. Probably it's going to be a sweatshirt thing, but we just
put one in my cart already for me.
We donate to muscular dystrophy in her name, and it's been really cool. And the MDA here in St. Louis is such a great chapter, and they've been so cool and awesome. And I don't know if I told you this as well. The story I joined this gym out of nowhere when I moved here. Because it was close to the house we were building. And I'm a CrossFitter that's my favorite thing to do is I like CrossFit. This was a boot camp. This is not anything like CrossFit. And I was like, I'm going to get my free 2 weeks until I figure out what the next gym, I'll just do it for 2 weeks and get some good cardio in. I hate cardio. And so I was like, whatever. I was at that gym for a year and a half. That's where I met. That gym is what literally helped grow EmpowHER. That gym is my closest friends in my life now. I don't I don't currently go there anymore, but it was such a big part of my story. It's the most beautiful community. And that is so the weird part with muscular dystrophy is when I started there, they were raising money for a muscular dystrophy.
Oh my goodness.
They do that. We didn't know she had muscular dystrophy yet. That's why we moved here to do all the things. So I'm like, and then about right when we found out that she had a neuromuscular related disorder, but we didn't know it was dystrophy yet, they were doing this big fundraiser thing there, and they asked me to speak on the experience of it, of like a kid with like muscular issues, and we still didn't fully know her diagnosis. And it's just so crazy that I found out the diagnosis while I was a member there. And like that community was so supportive and is such a beautiful community. But like it's so funny how all those things meet together. But the St. Louis MDA chapter was a part of that gym. And I didn't know how much I was going to need them. And how much that would play into my story. And like those girls that I'm friends with had a heart for the MDA before they knew that their new friend had a daughter with muscular dystrophy who like, it's just a crazy... And you think like, man, I don't know why I'm stepping into that. You go somewhere every day. Like, why am I walking into this place? Oh, I don't know. But you find out later on. I just think it's a cool thing.
You never know how the God connections are going to come.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Maria, so many things. We've covered a lot.
I'm sorry.
No, it's so good. You have shared so many great things. So, but just do you have anything else you want to share with us before I've got one last question to ask you, but
no, go for it.
You've done so good. Okay. So because the show is called Now That's Something Good, we always ask people, what is something good to you? I mean, like I said, there's no qualifier. It can be whatever the heck. What's something
good in my life, like right now, like that I'm liking?
Sure.
Or like something, what does that mean to be good?
Good story, a good thing, a good product. I don't want to, it could be anything you want to.
So many things.
You can share a couple if you want.
I'm trying to think of what my favorite one to share would be right now.
Well, can I ask you one good thing? Because I didn't ask it, so you can share another one. But just inquiring minds need to know. I mean, what's going to be on trend for fall 2020? What are you seeing with the boutique? Because you all like...
So it's really... So like snake print is really big this year.
Okay.
Leopard is going to be a little bit low for fall.
Okay.
And like they're throwing in like... it's going to be your typical neutrals, your camel colors, your blacks, your cream and all that. But they're throwing in like fuchsia and lime green. Like one piece in everybody's collection. And you're like, Feels like it's coming out of left field.
Like a little.
But I'm seeing it like at a bunch of different vendors.
Wow,
Really
okay.
interesting. But the same styles are happening. They're just changing colors and stuff. They're not doing like their same chunky sweaters and your leggings.
Yeah, all that.
Jeans. It's all the same stuff. And just like
colors.
a couple different color, and leopard's kind of dying out a little bit.
Now I'm gonna have to buy new shoes,
Which
I
we
still
would
like
all.
leopard.
I know. I still like leopard too. I wouldn't say that it's like going away. It's just that I think people are.
It's been for a few years now.
Maybe they're getting like they want a little bit. So snake is really big right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So
There you
like
go.
a snake print.
Okay.
Okay. So sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Something. Oh my goodness. I feel like my favorite thing to do is like plug products that I like and plug things I like.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of more of a local fun thing that I really like to do. Well, I will always plug fitness is obviously
Yeah.
So if you're a local person, for me, I love a good community more than a good workout. So I will always be drawn to the community.
Yeah.
I'm currently a member of the F45 in O'Fallon.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've never met a class where I was able to do all the fun Maria strengthy things, but they also do cardio, which you should have. So I love that. And I love a community of people that are encouraging, that are going to coach me through stuff, that are going to be a part of they want to be a part of life with you. It's not just walk in, do your workout and get out. It's people that are actually encouraging.
That's
people
so
that are
cool.
actually there for the journey. It's a really fun thing to do. And so I always like to share when I'm part of a good community like that, because community to me trumps everything else in life. If you can have a good community, I will show up for anything.
That's huge. Yeah.
So that is a really, really big thing.
Okay.
For me to do. So
And
that's definitely something good. I don't know. That's my everyday sort of good. That's what I
that's good.
go to.
We'll link them too, because they're coming up everywhere. There's actually a brand new one coming up right here by the church, by the Friar Truck.
They're opening their North O'Fallon.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So wherever you're at, I think they're all over St. Charles.
They're all
St.
over
Louis County.
Wentzville, Lake St. Louis, St. Charles, O'Fallon on K. Well, they're going to both be on K.
Yeah.
North O'Fallon on K, and then North O'Fallon, South O'Fallon on K. And then more north on K towards Target is the one I go to.
Okay.
Which you are welcome to come to. And a free week trial, anybody.
That's so cool.
But yes, that. And then also I talked about this a little bit. So I want to plug this book because it's been really great for me. I talked about the idea of not enough. And there's a book called You're Not Enough and That's Okay.
Okay.
By Allie Beth Stuckey. And spoiler alert, it's about Jesus.
Spoiler alert.
So it's really
Love it.
good. It's making me think critically and different and challenging me in new ways. Because and we didn't touch on any of this, but I think Matt did in his podcast. My entire background is the self-growthy world, the Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill. I've done and read everything. I've taught it. I've listened to it. I can tell you all about it.
Yeah.
And part of my undoing of a lot of stuff about my relationship with Jesus, coming to that, was undoing a lot of the self-growthy stuff that I idolized. And so that taught me things like that how to be more personally successful in personal achievement.
Yeah.
And I had to reframe a lot of that in my head. And so this book helps me, really helps me come to the, what I just talked about, how the idea that we're not enough and it's okay to not be enough.
Yeah.
But also kind of undoing some of those elements of the self-love culture, all of that kind of stuff that that I was brought up thinking that's good. And there are certain points where it's okay, but what is the main point of it all?
Right.
And so I love a good book. I will always plug a good book. So that's my other something good.
I love that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely.
And it's a hot pink cover. So it's really cute.
Well, I'm there for that. So definitely buying that.
So I'm not going to lie.
guys.
When I saw it, I go, well, I'm just going to buy it because that looks cute.
Hey, you know what? That's all right. That happens sometimes. Awesome. Well, Maria, thank you so much for being here today. It's been great.
Thank you. It was really fun. I love chatting.
Okay, seriously, Maria shared so many fun, good things with us today. I loved our conversation. Hey, I want to ask you a favor. Would you do something for Will and I? She shared at the end about Nat G and just her amazing story and what God is doing there. Would you join us in just praying for Nat G and for her healing and for her little life? She is one incredible little girl, and I'm sure that part of Maria's story today impacted you as much as this impacted Will and I. So we would love for you to just support their family by praying and thinking good thoughts for Nat G. I know it would bring them a lot of encouragement, and it would be a huge blessing to Will and I as well. One one of the things Maria talked about too is about being enough. And I'm sure if we're all honest, that probably hit all of us a lot. We all struggle with, are we enough in a lot of different ways? And I loved her reminder that with Jesus, we are always enough. And we always want to give an opportunity here on the podcast. If you're not familiar with Jesus or don't know exactly what we're talking about, that's awesome. We are so glad you're here no matter where you are in your faith journey or whether you're on a different journey. But we are glad that you are here. But we would love anytime to talk with you more about Jesus. I know Maria that's been on, Matt, any one of our guests would love to talk with you about that. So you can reach out to us anywhere. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook. You can send us messages there, or you can email us directly at podcast@sarahgood.com. Make sure to go check out our show notes. There we've linked everything that Maria talked about today. Also the links to her store, which we would love for you to go support. She's doing incredible things. And so women listening, go check it out. Men, you know, a sister, a grandma, an aunt, some female in your life that you could use something from her EmpowHER boutique. So make sure to go check that out. Hey, we're so grateful that you join us week in and week out. I've got a little sneak peek for you. Starting the last week in October, actually next Wednesday when you listen again, we're going to start a brand new kind of theme and series. I'm not going to tell you fully about what it is yet, but our next 4 stories are going to be really special, and there's something that's really near and dear to Will and my heart. So we hope you have a great week, and we'll see you right back here on Now That's Something Good.